Israel is at war. But though Israel didn't start this war, Israel will finish it.
The Palestinian militant organization Hamas initiated an unparalleled assault on Israel, involving the infiltration of hundreds of armed individuals into communities situated near the Gaza Strip. Nevertheless, Israel is receiving unparalleled international support in the wake of these events. The military branch of Hamas, known as the Qassam Brigades, declared the commencement of a comprehensive attack on Israel under the banner of Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. This offensive involved the firing of thousands of rockets from Gaza toward Israeli territory. Concurrently, factions affiliated with Hamas managed to cross the Israeli border and penetrate cities located in proximity to the Gaza border. In response, the Israeli military announced the launch of an aerial campaign involving dozens of warplanes targeting Hamas installations within the Gaza Strip. These developments raise important questions about the immediate future and the potential repercussions for all parties involved. Let's explore what might transpire on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. Hamas took actions that went beyond its usual rocket attacks into Israel. This time they managed to breach Israel's sophisticated border security encompassing the Gaza Strip. In a startling turn of events, they infiltrated Israeli settlements, taking over a significant number of hostages, including Israeli military commanders. The sheer scale and rapidity of this operation left the world in shock, as videos circulated showing Hamas utilizing motorized paragliders and hang gliders, even driving trucks armed with heavy weaponry through Israeli towns. The scenes resembled something out of a post-apocalyptic movie. This marks a pivotal moment in the chronicles of the Middle East, with the potential to escalate into a devastating regional conflict akin to a mini World War III. Such a conflict could entangle not only neighboring countries like Syria, Lebanon, Iran, and Jordan, but also involve the United States and NATO. In the first week of this conflict, over 1,000 Palestinians and 1,000 Israelis have lost their lives, while nearly 350,000 people in Gaza have been displaced and turned into refugees. Both sides are entrenched in a cycle of fiery rhetoric, opting for a brutal war rather than seeking a ceasefire and diplomatic negotiations. Israeli PM Netanyahu said Hamas has made a mistake of historic proportions. We will exact a price that will be remembered by them and other enemies for decades to come. Another top Israeli official said, "It's either us or them, and it is a matter of survival of the state." This sudden attack targeting civilians has left everyone in astonishment, not just within the Middle East, but across the globe. Israel's unpreparedness for these attacks and the tragic loss of innocent lives have led to strong reactions against Hamas. Italian Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Antonio Tajani expressed his concerns about the situation in the Middle East. He mentioned meeting with US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and other counterparts from Germany, France, the UK, and the EU. He emphasized Italy's government's commitment to working with allies to prevent the conflict from escalating. He underlined their support for Israel's right to self-defense and even shared a post on his social media account featuring the Israeli flag reflected on the Prime Ministry building. French Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna also weighed in on the matter, highlighting that she had discussions with her Israeli, Palestinian, Egyptian, and Jordanian counterparts. She firmly stated that nothing can legitimize terrorism. The Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs condemned the launching of rockets and the incursion into Israeli territory from the Gaza Strip, expressing their condolences to the families of those who lost their lives. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese expressed solidarity with Israel during this challenging period. He condemned Hamas's indiscriminate attacks on Israel and its civilians. He acknowledged Israel's right to defend itself. In short, many countries have openly expressed their support for Israel while condemning Hamas for the recent events. Nevertheless, certain nations have opted a neutral stance, urging the conflicting parties to cease hostilities. Notably, Turkey has played a significant role in advocating for neutrality. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, in his address on the matter, called upon both the Israeli and Palestinian sides to exercise restraint and avoid impulsive actions that could further intensify tensions. The Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in a written statement regarding the unfolding events, conveyed deep concern about the violence and tension and emphasized the urgency of restoring peace in the region. The statement stressed that acts of violence and related escalations would not benefit anyone and called upon all parties to act with restraint and avoid impulsive measures. While it's widely known that the current Turkish government has historically aligned with Palestine in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, recent improvements in relations between Turkey and Israel seem to have influenced Turkey's decision to adopt a more neutral stance in this current crisis. The stance of Turkey towards the current Syrian administration is also considered a contributing factor to the ongoing thaw in relations between the two countries. Turkey's call for the reconciliation in the Israel-Hamas conflict is not isolated. Russia has also issued a written statement from its Ministry of Foreign Affairs, inviting both the Palestinian and Israeli parties to observe a ceasefire. The statement encourages the adoption of necessary measures to facilitate moderation and initiate a negotiation process aimed at achieving lasting and comprehensive peace. Given the widespread support and reconciliation calls, it appears that the region's tensions will not subside anytime soon. The situation remains highly uncertain. Hamas has declared its readiness for a protracted conflict and warned of dire consequences if Gaza faces an existential threat. Hezbollah, the influential militant organization based in Lebanon, has engaged in attacks on Israeli military positions along the border and seems prepared to enter the volatile conflict. The United States has taken significant steps in response to the crisis, deploying aircraft carriers to the region, supplying ammunition to Israel, and authorizing substantial new aid to the country. US Secretary of State Blinken's travels to key Arab nations in the region, such as Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, and Egypt, signal a long and potentially bloody engagement in the conflict. These developments are occurring amid the ongoing Ukraine war, creating a complex and volatile global situation. NATO's declaration of "We are with Israel" is noteworthy. Furthermore, actions by France and the UK to clamp down on pro-Palestine protests suggests that Europe may be preparing for involvement in a protracted conflict. The evolving situation demands close attention as it has the potential to significantly impact regional and international dynamics. Within the initial 4 days of this conflict, Israel unleashed a barrage of 2,300 missiles on Gaza, a densely populated region, often characterized as the world's largest open-air prison. This relentless bombardment has resulted in the destruction of numerous critical facilities, including hospitals, schools, a prominent local university, mosques, and even an ancient church. It's essential to note that Gaza lacks a military and missile defense system, rendering it entirely vulnerable to Israeli airstrikes. Israel's response has escalated to a complete blockade of Gaza, encompassing the suspension of electricity, fuel, and food supplies. This approach amounts to collective punishment, a violation of international laws and the Geneva Convention. Notably, during the Ukraine conflict, the European Union condemned the cutting off of water and electricity as acts of pure terror. Israel's proposed solution, suggesting that Gazans relocate to Egypt, is seen by many as a form of ethnic cleansing. In essence, this proposition implies we will bombard your homes, so abandon your residences, become refugees, seek shelter in another country, and do not return. This situation is giving rise to a dire and unfolding humanitarian crisis. The upcoming actions taken by Israel are of paramount importance. Up to this point, the prevailing sentiments have been sympathy and shock. However, should Israel's counteroffensive against Hamas result in even higher civilian casualties in Gaza, or if the territory experiences an Israeli-imposed siege that cuts off access to water and electricity for an extended period, it could trigger shifts in public opinion, even within allied nations. In these countries, public monuments are illuminated with white and blue lights in solidarity. Joe Biden, one of the most pro-Israel Democratic presidents in recent memory, has thus far set aside any discord with Netanyahu. Notably, Netanyahu has yet to visit the White House during Biden's presidency, but he has been in constant communication with the Israeli leader since the attacks began. Furthermore, in the coming weeks, the interests of the United States and Israel might diverge. If evidence emerges, for instance, indicating Iran's direct involvement in planning the assaults conducted by its proxy Hamas, the pressure on Netanyahu to launch a direct strike against the Islamic Republic will intensify. Washington will be apprehensive about the scale of such an operation, as the last thing Biden needs as he begins his re-election campaign is the United States becoming entangled in another Middle East conflict. Biden's legacy could also take a hit from the Israeli turmoil. His efforts to facilitate the normalization of relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia, a move that could reshape Middle East geopolitics, appear to be at a standstill. With the current situation in Gaza, Saudi Arabia is unlikely to engage in negotiations with Netanyahu, while hundreds of Palestinians are losing their lives in Israeli retaliatory attacks. Furthermore, Netanyahu's ability to make significant territorial concessions in the West Bank, which would likely be necessary for the proposed deal, is severely constrained. The historic nature of this deal provides a compelling reason for Iran to potentially support Hamas's attack, even though the US maintains there's no concrete evidence of its involvement at this point. At this juncture, we can only hope and pray that innocent civilians on both sides of this conflict are spared from harm. What are your thoughts on this situation? Please feel free to share your opinions in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to stay updated on our new videos. Thank you for joining us.